The October 25th, 2022 Committee on Ways and now called to order. I will call on Councilmember Gregg for an invocation.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the ability to live in this city. Please bless us with wisdom. Help us to make wise decisions on behalf of the city that we love so well. Pray that you would help us to love and serve you better in this coming week. In your name I pray, amen.
Item 2, approval of the October
Move for
11th. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of approval of the October 11th, 2022 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Bids and purchases.
Move for approval.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on bids and purchases? Councilmember Shea.
I'm taking your lead, Mr. Chairman, about slowing things down a little bit on the money we spend.
Yeah,
on these
this
things.
one.
And so this is more of a question probably for Jason on this. So Jason, are we ready to roll on these lights for these tennis centers? When do you think we'll get this up and running?
So as soon as the purchase order is issued, the contractor can order the lights, so they have to manufacture them. They're not off the shelf. Best case scenario is about 5 months from the issuance of the purchase order. That's best case scenario. So anyway, yeah, so they have to fabricate the lights, deliver them, and there will be concurrent projects both at Maybank and the tennis center. The tennis center will be a little easier because the poles are already there. Maybank, we're gonna have some new poles and we're gonna replace the older lights that are out there as well. So best case, 4 to 5 months, but I would say 6.
You go make a lot of tennis players very happy when this is all said and done. So
We've heard it.
we thank you for getting this on our agenda and get the funds to expend it.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you for the opportunity.
And the lighting is phenomenal.
Yeah, they're good.
I mean, being able to operate it remotely and all that kind of good stuff.
That's right. It's all LED,
Yes,
high efficiency, and very easy to operate.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on bids and purchases? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 4, stormwater management, approval to submit. I would too, if I would see. Any discussion on item 4? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 5, stormwater approval for change order number 1.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 6, parks capital improvement. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. For item 6,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
wonderful article in the paper this morning, by the way.
yes, yes, yes. He said a wonderful article in the paper this morning. Yeah. You're talking about the Mother Emanuel construction? Yes. It's been a long time. Any further discussion on 6? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Item 7, parks capital projects. Any discussion on item 7? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 8. Moved and properly seconded for the approval to accept the 2022 State Homeland Security Grant in the amount of $45,000. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. Item 9.
Approval.
Any discussion on item 9? All in favor, say aye. Just had a question on item 9 as a part of our agenda. We're not approving any money on 9, are we? It's just a question to participate. Should it be on just on our council agenda as opposed to Ways and Means? Just a question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 10. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 11. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 12, moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the Carter amount? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. I will call on Chairman Appel for the Committee on Real Estate meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Gregory. The City of Charleston Real Estate Committee met yesterday afternoon at 3:30. Everything on the real estate agenda was approved unanimously. I'll just kind of run through what we did and hit the high points. We approved an agreement to extend the lease for the old Exchange building for an additional year. We own the property, but the state operates it. And we received a very interesting history lesson about the old Exchange building, and invite everybody to tune in to the YouTube channel if you're interested in that. We then authorized the city to acquire certain HOA property regarding the stormwater improvements for the Glen McConnell Parkway culvert installation project. We authorized a maintenance, accepting an easement for maintenance of a multi-use path over on Maybank Highway, over on Johns Island. And then finally, we agreed to a facility rental agreement with the St. Andrews Parks and Playgrounds for the St. Andrews Family Fitness Center pool over there in West Ashley. And then we approved 2 annexations. The 3124 Maybank Highway annexation was deferred. And that concludes my report, and I move to have it accepted.
Do I hear a second? Moved and properly seconded that we approve the Real Estate Committee's report as submitted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Councilmember Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question. This goes back to number 12, I guess, indirectly. Do we still provide parking for those who work in the restaurant industry on the peninsula?
No,
We don't do that?
no.
Not reduced?
They say they don't do it at all.
We don't do the reduced parking for them? Reduced,
Parking garage.
right. Okay.
I mean, I'm just curious why. Just wasn't used or what?
Oh, no, it was used. The short answer is because post-COVID, we haven't returned the meters back to 10 o'clock. And that helped clear the way and subsidize the running of the hop. So until the meters get back to 10 o'clock, we have a resolution of the board. We want to get it back going. It's 21-hour service, but with all the meters being out there for free, it takes away clientele by a month.
It's a safety issue.
Well, let me tell you, share a story with the mayor and council. I happened to go to a restaurant, West Ashley, with my family, get a pizza. And the lady who served us happened to know my daughter. Anyway, she used to work at a restaurant downtown, really loved the restaurant working, but her parking became so much. She parked in the wrong spot one night, got a boot on her car. Between the parking that she has to pay and the hourly wages, and tips she got, it just didn't make sense to continue to come and work downtown. Now she's gotten a job working at a restaurant, West Ashley, but obviously it's a little bit different in the tips and things like that. Single mother with a 9-year-old, and I got to tell you, I was sitting there listening to her explain that to my daughter who's around her age, and my heart just went out. And I said, no, can't you? I said, don't we? I thought we still provided the hops. But I just wonder how many times that's repeated. And I know there's a shortage of employees at the restaurants downtown, but parking was the difference in her saying, hey, I can't go downtown anymore and work for what I have to pay. So I'm going to try someplace West Ashley.
All right, so I wasn't going to say much tonight. It's been a long day, but so I'll tell you an anecdotal story. This week on Monday, I took my class from the College of Charleston over to Charleston Place, where they gave them a tour and talked about their business and talked about their employees. So cocktail party talk. How many people do you think Charleston Place employs?
More than that,
Anybody? We see we got a minute or two.
400 or 500.
500.
Right.
And at any given time, how many people do you think are inside the building? 300 in the core of the city. And you know how many dedicated parking spaces they have for employees at Charleston Place? 0. Now, one of the competitive advantages Charleston Place has, and one reason they get those 500 employees, 300 at a time, and can retain them is because they actually subsidize parking. They pay for parking for their employees in various places around the city, which is an advantage to them, advantage to their employees. But think about what it does to our parking stock and our availability for parking. Puts a big burden on it. Now go to a small restaurant or a smaller employer and think about the same thing. They don't have that same competitive advantage. They don't have the same cash flow. They don't have the same numbers that a place like Charleston Place has. So we, I think, as a city, owe it to ourselves to go back and look at all the options we might have out there for both parking and moving people on and off the peninsula in an efficient, affordable, safe manner that is long-term sustainable. Now, the HOP, which, as you all remember, we went through a long process of putting the HOP on the street pre-COVID. It was working. I mean, our ridership numbers were great. We were getting 500 to 600 riders a day. We finally got the numbers in line. We provided $5 flat rate parking day or night. Many of the people worked at retail are out there. And as you recall, one of the things we did at the same time is we extended the meters because that freed up the itinerant parking around the core of the city for people who are actually going in and out of the businesses, not parking at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and putting $2 in the meters, and they could literally stay there till 10 o'clock the next morning. Well, that's where we are again. So we really got to think about this. I think it needs to come back, Chairman Brady, to TNT to sort of think about our policies and what we're going to do long-term about providing affordable alternate parking for employees, particularly in the hospitality industry on the peninsula. I mean, there's lots of other people who are in need too, but with Low Country Rapid Transit coming, with some other opportunities coming, as you know, when we did the low line deal, there was that Mount Pleasant parcel to the north that was bought and then sold back off to CARTA and the BCD COG. We've got some plans in place to make that a transit hub when Low Country Rapid Transit comes and to use it for park and ride. We've got some other options too. So we need to make sure it all works. I will tell you, and my role as chairman of CARTA, and the mayor sits on the board as well, we have a resolution. We want to put the HOP back on the streets, but it has to make sense. I mean, you saw tonight, and thank you very much. We all voted unanimously to approve the MOU with CARTA to subsidize. Effectively, what we're doing is pay into a fund to allow the routes downtown to be free. And if you look at the ridership numbers, I've got them here. I was just looking at them in anticipation of some questions. Our ridership so far in 2022 through September has already exceeded 2021. 2021 was about equal to pre-COVID numbers. So ridership is up there. I saw the buses this weekend. They were running around full. So there's a demand for it and there's a need for it to support the hospitality industry, but we've got to do it cooperatively. And we can't, I mean, the worst thing in the world to do is run those buses empty at night. So if we can come up with a formula and a plan that allows the core of the city to be flushed through on any given night for businesses to allow people in and out 2 or 3 hours at a time, rather than people parking on the street for 14 hours for $2. You know, I think that's just something that we need to think about collectively. And if we do that, I think we'll be helping out, among other things, our number one industry, hospitality, immensely, and they want it. And, you know, alternately, I do, and I'm sure you all do get calls from businesses looking for ways to help pay for parking for their employees. Because look, I mean, on the peninsula, most people work in hospitality aren't living on the peninsula, or frankly, even very close. So they're coming one car, one person. There are 654 meters in the city. There are 400 in the core, in the entertainment district. We lose some of those on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night because of the reconfiguration of the parking on Upper King Street, which has been a very good thing. And I think we all support that 100%. But getting transit to run into the evening hours to help the hospitality industry in a safe way is going to take some rethinking about how we park and configure parking in the core of the peninsula. So it's a very long answer to your question, but we think about it a lot, and we need to think about it some more.
As Councilman Waring would say, instead of making sausage on the floor,
Right.
Why don't we use your suggestion and send it to transportation to work out? Councilman Shade?
It's my phone ringing. I'm not answering it.
There you go.
Like that.
So
Sorry.
that, now it's working. So along those lines, Councilman Seekings and what you and Councilman Warren had brought up. Amy, the parking garages, particularly the one that I use on the corner of King and Queen Street, are pretty much vacant after around 6 or 7 o'clock. Is that a fair observation, do you think? I'm putting you on the spot, but when I pull out of that garage, there are so many spots available. I'm just wondering if there's somehow we can tap into that empty spaces for hospitality workers to make them at a flat rate available for them.
We have that at certain garages, and don't ask me the exact garages. There's 4 different garages that we have the special rate for.
Right.
And I forget which one it is down here. Do you remember which one? If it's Prolo or one of those, Cumberland, one of those
Cumberland.
garages. On this side we have, and then we've got the visitor center, Majestic Square, and one other one. Is it Aquarium? Is it? Yeah. So those are the 4 that we have. So we do have those options.
What are the special rates we charge them for?
I think it's after 5 o'clock, it's $5.
Is that a flat fee of $5?
Yes.
So if they were able to use those flat fees of $5 like the
We're
garage.
making
Which is
sausage.
great. Well, let me just finish with that. One of the things that it's great, except most of those employees in the hospitality industry have to be at work before 5 o'clock. But they don't start at 5. They're ramped up at 5 o'clock. I mean, if you work in the kitchen, you're there at noon. You're a prep cook, a line cook, you're there at noon. Even if you're the latest person in as a server that opens at 4:30, you're in there at 3 o'clock, 2:30. So 5 o'clock's great, but it really doesn't help the hospitality industry because you don't get the advantage of it.
Thank you. Yes,
Just
Councilman
one thing I
Waring.
No, one thing I want to follow.
Yeah.
I did ask her if her employer would contribute towards parking and costs, and it was one standalone restaurant they couldn't. And for all to know, Councilman Seekings did not know I was going to bring this. I mean, it just warmed my heart listening to this young lady who's.
He's always prepared. I would like to add something to the agenda based on an emergency, based on exigency. And we did this at the last meeting as well. And it has to do with professional services contract for debris removal, of which we need to extend. And I'd like to get a motion to
Move
put
to
these on
approve.
the agenda.
Second.
Okay, moved and properly seconded that we can add to the agenda these 2 items. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Is there anything else to come before this committee, Mr. Mayor? Oh, right. I'm sorry. We need to vote on. Thanks, Mayor. Yes. Do I hear some second? Moved and properly seconded? All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. A copy of the actions are on everybody's desk. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Here you go, man. Here you go, man.
I got one here. This one's working. There we go. So, I'll never forget when Councilmember Shealy came back from a League of Cities meeting and recommended we go ahead and bite the bullet and hire a grants writer. And we did, and we hired Sarah. She's now Hager. She got married and she's done a remarkable job. But I wanted to point out that in addition to Sarah, and by the way, one budget request for next year is to add an assistant for Sarah. She really earns her keep plus, and some help would be great. But also there are other staff members throughout the city in capital projects and stormwater in fire and police that help us write grants and apply for all this money. And today, you know, we're applying for $7.6 million of ARPA money for a stormwater project on Johns Island. We received a grant through South Carolina Parks and Recreation Tourism of $261,000 to supplement getting our Fort Pemberton Park on James Island open. We received $45,000 for a fire department grant, Homeland Security. We received a grant of $67,343 for the police department. And this is just a sample. We see this at most of our Ways and Means committees. And I just want to point that out and thank those staff members. Maybe we ought to get them all together one time. But they really do a remarkable job in helping us marshal some resources for all kinds of things we do at the city. And with all the infrastructure money and everything else that's been coming out of DC, it's been more important to us than ever. I like to think we've been very successful getting some of this money, but it's frankly mostly because of the good work of our staff in all of these departments that keeps an eye out for these grant opportunities, and then they evaluate the ones that they think would be have a good chance before they spend the time filling out all the applications and getting the material together. It's a lot of work involved, but I just want to share that. I think the staff is doing a really good job at all these grant proposals and trying to get us some extra money.
Mr. Chairman, I think the mayor's right. I think we need to get the people in and let them know they appreciate it. And I think we also ought to make sure that Councilman Shealy goes to the National League of Cities next year.
Mayor, I agree with you. They earned their keep, no question. Is there anything else to come before this committee? If not, the meeting's adjourned.